Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Sailor Moon. Last time around in the reviews, we covered the Black Moon arc of Sailor Moon, the manga, and it was all about Chibi-Usa, who came back in time to save the future from this evil planet Nemesis, and it was kind of weird and and then last week we watched Sailor Moon R the movie. If you didn't watch that reaction, be sure you go check that out because I had a whole lot of fun with that one. And yeah, this time around we are going to be reviewing the Infinity arc, which is chapters. Well, it's kind of hard to pinpoint necessarily, but it's about chapter 27 to chapter 38, I think. Yes. Chapter 27 to chapter 38, plus we are also going to be reviewing some of the side chapters that were included before and after the arc. So, yeah, this is the Infinity arc. My hair's a little poofy, that's because it's really humid. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. Like the last two reviews, we are going to be going, not necessarily chapter by chapter, but we are going to be going in terms of just specific things I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about are the new characters, specifically our three new sailors and one returning sailor. So yeah, let's start with Haruka, also known as Sailor Uranus. Interesting addition we have here, mainly with all the new sailors, but Sailor Uranus kind of stands out the most among them. So we're introduced to Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune. They're basically... This whole thing is that these are the outer planet guardians, and they are supposed to protect the Silver Millennium from outside threats, which that's how they get away with saying, that's why we weren't helpful against Queen Metalia and Nemesis, because those were inner threats. These are outer threats that the Outer Guardians deal with. So we get introduced to them. However, for the most part, they want to keep our normal Sailor Guardians away. They want to keep them away from the fight. And for a little while, it is a little like, come on, let them fight, let them fight, like Ken Watanabe would say, let them fight, but the reasoning, that when you finally get to the reasoning, it does actually make sense, because at first you just think, oh, well, they don't respect these Sailor Guardians, they don't like them, they don't want them, they don't think they can handle this fight, but the real reason is because they are trying to do their jobs. Their jobs is to make sure that these outside threats stay away from Princess Serenity, basically. So it's actually a very interesting reasoning, once you get to it. And beforehand, it's frustrating, but it's like a good frustrating. It's like, these guys, come on, let us help, And even after they give their reasoning, they still want to be like, look, you guys need to stay away from this. Let us do our jobs, but stay away. So that was all very, very interesting. And now the thing is, they're not very good, I guess, at their jobs. I guess we could kind of say that. They're not the greatest at their jobs. Eventually, yes, they do need the help from the remaining Sailor Guardians, and obviously, yes, it's kind of Sailor Moon that saves the day. It's kind of her and Sailor Saturn when you get down to it. But we'll get to that in a bit. But the interesting thing is that, they have to end up, bringing in the other Sailor Guardians to help. So what is that? Is that 9? Oh no, is that 10 because of Sailor Chibi Moon? That might be. Okay, well now, I feel stupid that I have to count them, but Mercury, Venus, Moon, Mini-Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That's 10. Yeah, that's 10 Guardians. So 10 Sailor Guardians, which is pretty cool. So we do have to bring them all in anyway, but the thing is, for a while when they're like, oh no, you just need to stay away, the problem is they keep tempting them, especially Haruka, which I don't know if I'm saying that right. I haven't gotten there in the anime. I'm just going to say Haruka. It's one of those. You get the idea. Okay, so the whole thing is, they want to keep the Sailor Guardians away, But Haruka in particular keeps like tempting them, and keeps like, well, for one thing, she's very flirtatious, mainly with Usagi, and especially when she is boy, I guess you could say, when she's got the male uniform on, and everyone is sort of confused, like, wait, okay, so let's make sure we all understand this. So when we are first presented with Haruka, she is presented as a man. But later, as you go on, then you start to realize, wait a minute, there's another Sailor Guardian who looks exactly like her. Then you realize, oh, Haruka is a Sailor Guardian. But not a male Sailor Guardian. She is a woman. So then it's like, okay, well, wait a second. So I guess she's not a man. She must be a woman. And I swear to God, Usagi actually pulls a Professor Oak and straight up asks, are you a boy or a girl? And that's all fine that she does ask that. I just found it funny that because it's such a serious moment and it's the exact Professor Oak question, it's, are you a boy or a girl? It's like, I don't know why, it was just sort of funny the way she asked it, in like this serious situation, she asked about and a serious situation and a serious question and all that stuff, and I don't want to take away from that, but that's all I could think about because I'm an idiot, So they also explain, well, okay, another thing that doesn't help is that, they are, when they first see, it's like, oh, there are other Sailor Guardians. But the first time they see them, they see Sailor Neptune, and she's all, Sailor Neptune, and that's all great. And they see another Tuxedo Mask. Because Haruka, for like one time, and maybe it's two, I don't know if it was one or two times, but at the very least, one time, basically cosplayed as Tuxedo Mask. And it was hilarious, because the next time, it's like, oh, there's that Sailor Girl. Who's this other Sailor Girl who looks a lot like Haruka, So, I just thought that was weird. Maybe it's just sort of to keep them on their toes, like, oh, they don't really know, I guess it is, well, first off, her dressed as Tuxedo Mask. Well, I was going to say her dressed as Tuxedo Mask might make it more difficult for them to figure out that it's her compared to... Okay, so can I take a side moment to do a quick rant? And not even a rant, just an observation. The disguises on in this series are so bad, it's hilarious. Because there are some moments where, like, the first time they see Sailor Uranus and she's in, her sailor outfit, they pretty much immediately look at her and it's like, she looks familiar, wait a second, could she be Haruka? And then they start questioning that, but Haruka's a male and all that stuff. They question that. But it takes forever for them to realize who Tuxedo Mask is. They don't recognize Haruka through her Tuxedo Mask cosplay. And in the anime I'm watching, because as I've said throughout all these videos, I am watching the anime. I am still not through the first season yet. It's still taking me a while. I'm watching these like one a day, but that's the most I can do. So basically, where I'm at right now in the anime is Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. Their identities have been revealed to each other, and they both are like, "Oh no, how could they be, who they actually are and stuff." Despite the fact that you could easily look at Tuxedo Mask and be like, that's Mamoru Chiba. And you could immediately look at Sailor Moon and be like, that is Usagi Tsukino. And it drives me up a wall, but it's also hilarious, And so, I guess a similar thing sort of happens here, A similar thing happens here where, yeah, they don't... And I guess when Haruka is dressed as Tuxedo Mask, she's in a distance. She also... Okay, I'm gonna be honest, she looks like Motoki. Mainly when she is in her boy disguise. When she's in her male uniform, she really, really looks like Motoki. Which I finally learned his name. She looks like Motoki. So, honestly, I guess if they saw Haruka, in a Tuxedo Mask outfit, they might not immediately suspect him. her. Yeah. Pronouns might be a bit tricky here. And actually, as I was reading, I want to bring this up because the version that I was reading, the Eternal Edition, they actually brought that up too. They were like, let's talk about Haruka's pronouns, because we would like to address this. And they went on this whole thing of like, they don't really have to deal with this in Japanese, but we have to deal with this. And, you may notice that Michiru will sometimes refer to Haruka as a boy or he, or, stuff like that. And so it's just one of those things where I like how they brought it up, and they really, they took their time to sort of go over that. So if I'm sort of tripping up with what I say, if I say he, then that I mean when Haruka was, disguised as a boy, basically. So that's what I mean. Anyway. So yes. So there's the disguises. And then there's also the fact, like I said, when Haruka is dressed as a boy, she is basically constantly flirting with Usagi, down to I think they kiss at one point. And it's an interesting thing, because there's also a moment where Mamoru is talking to Michiru. So many M's and U's apparently. I don't know why I made that comparison there, but anyway. So there's a moment where Mamoru is talking to Michiru, and is basically, they're just talking, but Usagi is sort of in the distance, and she's not exactly jealous, but she's like, oh, why, it's just sort of a back of the mind thought of, he's really, maybe he's interested in her and stuff, and it doesn't really go very far, but the most is when Haruka actually kisses Usagi, and she feels ashamed for it, and she says, we kissed, does that mean I cheated on Mamoru? And I thought that was interesting because, I suppose it depends on how you define cheating. First off, Usagi, you weren't really you didn't initiate that kiss, Haruka did. And you know who else initiated a kiss on you? Prince Demande. And I'm still going with that pronunciation until I find it in the anime. I'm probably not gonna get there until after we finish these reviews, but oh well. But Prince Demande also forced a kiss, which I completely glossed over that in my review last time. I literally forgot that whole thing of Prince Demande being obsessed with Princess Serenity, but who cares? So yeah, and she felt kind of ashamed of it then. It's I kissed another man. And then that was that. And then she just sort of moved on and never brought it up again. Meanwhile, Haruka kisses her, and she's sort of in a funk for a little while. I think it's still resolved in the same chapter, but she's kind of in a funk. She's kind of acting weird around Mamoru, and is even saying, they even kind of confess to each other, they're kind of both oh yeah, I get sort of jealous when you're with one of them. Whenever Usagi is with Haruka, Mamoru gets jealous. Whenever Mamoru is with Michiru, Usagi gets a little jealous. So they're both okay, we're both a little jealous. Let's just sort of, forgive and forget, Anyway, another thing about Sailor Uranus, because she's almost the one I'm going to be talking the most about. She's kind of the most prominent, though. Another thing about Sailor Uranus, especially relating to the boy-girl thing, Sailor Neptune at one point specifically says that Sailor Uranus is both a man and a woman. And I think, okay, what is it? I don't exactly remember what she says, but it was something like she's not limited by either gender. But then that's never brought up again, and she's just a girl from then on. She pretty much drops the male persona of Haruka. Pretty much after they say she is a man and a woman, it's just sort of dropped. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's okay, I guess that, that's to alleviate confusion. But at the same time, you could have, I don't know, I don't want to, say too much, but it is also, essentially she is a woman who acts masculine, which is a thing, first of all. And I know, yes, this is our great lesbian couple of Sailor Moon, and that's great, and they're a great couple, honestly. And I know that, yes, in the original dub of the Sailor Moon anime, they were changed into being really good cousins. And I've seen plenty of clips of that. That makes it sound weird. But I've seen plenty of clips of when they say, it's like, oh, we're cousins and stuff. And it is awkward because they are, like, their faces will get, like, this close, and then they'll be like, well, thanks, cousin. And it's like, ew, Ugh. And then that's the joke. I know that's the joke, that every relationship is cousins, but still. So yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where it's like, oh, she is a man and a woman. But then she kind of drops the man part of that after that and never uses it again. Not that she needs to use it. Like, she doesn't need to use it like, oh, she needs to use that side. Or, I don't know. Like, it's just never, like... I swear, though, it's just after they explain that, like, oh, Sailor Moon, she's both... Sailor Uranus is both a man and a woman, Sailor Moon. And then it's like... And she'll never do that again, apparently. I don't know. It's a very minor, like, wait a second, but it's not a criticism at all, It's very interesting, and it made for an interesting dynamic between Haruka and the other Sailor Guardians, Like, I thought that was really interesting, so yeah. And then the whole thing of, the protectors from afar was very cool, and that whole thing, I really enjoyed that. Next, goodness gracious, it's been 18 minutes on this recording, and we're just getting onto the second point. Let's talk Michiru. Alright, let's talk about Sailor Pluto. No, I'm kidding. Michiru. Not as... I don't want to say not as important to the plot, but she really is just sort of... there. I don't know. She, like... I hate saying that, It's like when I talked about... It's like when we first did... during the first review, when it was like... Oh yeah, Jupiter and Venus, like, and Mars, let's talk about them. And then I was just like, I don't really have anything to say about them. I don't really have much to say about Michiru. Like, of the 4 outer guardians, she's kind of the one that does the least. Like, she's there, plays the violins, flies a helicopter, has a talisman. I don't got much to say about Michiru. I liked her and Haruka. I thought they were a good couple. And yeah. I honestly, I feel like the main focus was on Haruka for most of that. So Michiru is just sort of also there. So yeah. We can talk about Setsuna, also known as Sailor Pluto. Sailor Pluto is back, bitches. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Literally, on my concise Infinity notes, it just says Sailor Pluto. Woo! And then also, like, other stuff. But, yeah. Sailor Pluto is back. That is awesome. Okay, so she says that she was reborn by Neo Queen Serenity. But that means she was reborn 1,000 years before her death. But she's still the guardian of the door, but she doesn't I don't know. I think she was just reborn after trying to harness the power of the world. She died, and then Neo Queen Serenity revived her, but brought her back in the past. Either that, or brought her back in the 30th century to then go back in time. I suppose that's possible. So, yeah. I don't know. She's back. She has a really cool attack this time. I say that like she didn't have one last time. She still uses her dead scream, which is awesome. Oh, dang it. I didn't count how many times they say Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus. Sorry, I'm going through my notes and I'm getting caught up in some of this. It was like Kronos Typhoon or something. Okay. So I was just right. It was the Kronos Typhoon. The Kronos Typhoon is Sailor Pluto's new attack, which also is metal AF. So yeah, Sailor Pluto is back and doing more than what she did last time. And honestly, she was the best part of the Black Moon arc, so glad to have her back. Like, she's not doing too much more than she did last time, but still, really great part. Okay, this brings us to what is unequivocally the best part of this entire arc. Let's talk about Hotaru, also known as Sailor Saturn, also known as the cyborg god of destruction. Because, holy shit, Sailor Saturn is amazing. Oh my god. So, during all this time of trying to face Pharaoh 90, and we'll get to him, goodness, but during all this time, the Outer Guardians are trying to make sure that they don't awaken Sailor Saturn, because Sailor Saturn is the final Sailor Guardian, and it's not good when she shows up, because basically the Outer Sailor Guardians all have a talisman, and when the three talismans are activated, Sailor Saturn awakens and destroys the world, basically. And the last time she awoke was after the end of the Silver Millennium, when Queen Metalia Queen Metalia was sealed away, and Prince Endymion and Princess Serenity were dead. That's when Sailor Saturn showed up and basically wiped out any traces of the Silver Millennium all that time ago. And so the Outer Guardians are working to try to get rid of the Deathbusters, but also they have to be careful so as to not awaken Sailor Saturn. The problem is, Sailor Saturn has been reborn. Sailor Saturn was reborn as Hotaru, which was it? Hotaru Tomoe. We'll just say Hotaru. So she has been reborn, but here's the other thing. At the age of 8, Hotaru was in an accident and lost a good chunk of her body. So her father, Professor Tomoe, basically rebuilt her body and made her a cyborg. Like, literally, like Cyborg from DC, or like Alita. Actually, Alita's probably closer, especially with the hairstyle. So, although she is still part human, but she's more machine now than man. So she was reborn as a cyborg. And also, she is the Destroyer. And it is so cool. It's so cool. And eventually, they start, sort of fighting. Like, she's trying to fight off Sailor Saturn, but then other stuff starts happening, and eventually Hotaru becomes Mistress 9, where basically, so her Hostia la Vista, her life energy, let's face it, it's the same. We'll get to the villains, but they're the same boring shit. But basically, her soul is gone, and she becomes a vessel for Mistress 9, like the Queen Beryl Anaxuna Moon for Pharaoh 90. That's a mummy reference for you. Anaxuna Moon to Imhotep. And so she now has this incredible power. She also steals Chibi-Usa's mystical silver crystal and starts using that. And then we actually get a very interesting thing, a sort of a Yami Bakura situation from Yu-Gi-Oh! Where Mistress 9 is trying to do all this stuff, and Hotaru starts to fight her off within her own body, because she's still in there, and she is fighting her off, and she's keeping Chibi-Usa alive and everything, and it's all cool, until eventually she completely drives out Mistress 9, and because of that, she is awakened. She is awoke. She gets woke, y'all. She wokes as Sailor Saturn. Hope I didn't ruin that, but whatever. But yeah, she returns to her body as Sailor Saturn. And here's the thing. They said that if Sailor Saturn awakens, it's the end of the world. And so part of the reason that the Outer Guardians wanted to keep the Inner Guardians away was because they were going to kill Hotaru. Just straight up kill her before Sailor Saturn awoke, so that they could avoid the end of the world. And so they knew that the Inner Guardians wouldn't like that. And Usagi doesn't. She straight up tries, like, no, there has to be some way. And eventually they do come around and they start working together, but still Haruka and the others want to finish their mission. But Sailor Saturn is awakened, and they start to think, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter now. This is the end. This is the end of the world. Sailor Saturn comes in, though, and I figured this out pretty quickly. Sailor Saturn won't destroy the world, but will end the darkness that is in the world. Sailor Saturn, like the destroyer goddess she is, completely obliterates Pharaoh 90. And she kind of enjoys it too. It was slightly creepy and also slightly like, oh man, Sailor Saturn, jeez. Because like he starts begging, like, oh no, please, well, just send me back to my world. I'll never bother this place again. Please don't kill me. And she just says, isn't it so beautiful when they beg for mercy? It's like, oh, Sailor Saturn. Oh, geez, Louise, man. It's like, it's creepy and hot and awesome, and it's weird, you know? It's so weird, but she does say, like, look, I know I'm the god of destruction, but I'm not going to destroy the world. I'm going to destroy the darkness. And after the darkness is destroyed, that will allow the mystical silver crystal to reawaken the light world, basically. So very, very interesting. It's technically not Sailor Moon that destroys the bad guy this time around, but instead it's Sailor Saturn. But still, Sailor Moon then, brings the light back to the world after Sailor Saturn has cleaned everything up, Which, again, it kind of plays into the theme of the Outer Guardians. They are the protectors of, the Silver Millennium from outside threats, They protect the Inner Guardians and the Princess. And that is true of Sailor Saturn. Here is this, huge, extra-dimensional threat that's here, and Sailor Saturn comes in and does her job and destroys it so that the world of the princess can live on, So, Sailor Saturn, best part of this arc, and a really good arc, by the way. Like, this completely blows the Black Moon out of the water. Like, this was so amazing, man. But we're not done. We're not done with this review, because we still have the villains to talk about. Okay, we are on round 3 of our villains. I'm going to once again hope that the anime does them better, because again, in the anime that I'm watching, I've really enjoyed all the ites. Jadeite, Nephrite, Zoisite, and Kunzite. They are all awesome. I friggin' love them in the anime. And in the manga, I was not able to tell you what their names were. I didn't know, I couldn't remember their names, I couldn't remember them. And so yeah, the anime does them a lot better. I'm hoping that will be the case in the Black Moon with Prince Demande, and I'm hoping that's the case for the Deathbusters. So, let's just quickly go over the villains, because whatever. First we have the demons, the daemons, the demi-dames. We have this whole thing of like de-evolution, where people turn into monsters and then everything is fixed. An interesting concept, but they don't do too much with it. We have the Witches 5 and Colonite. Boring. The only reason I remember Colonite's name is because I specifically wrote it down, because I had to remember that she's not one of the Witches 5. They were all boring because it's the exact same thing of oh, those Sailor Guardians defeated, Witch number 1? Well, I, Witch number 2, will go defeat them because I'm better. Oh no, I was defeated. Witch number 2 was defeated while I'm Witch number 3, and I'm better than Witch number 2, so I'll go defeat them. Oh no, I was defeated by the Sailor Guardians. Oh, all of the Witches 5 were defeated. Well, I, Colonite, will go defeat them because I am even stronger than they are. Oh no, I've been defeated too. It is all the exact same thing. And this time we don't even get, like, Queen Beryl or Prince Demande. Like, Colonite blows. Like, she's boring. Mistress 9 is kind of interesting because, well, she's sort of piggybacking off of the interest I have in Hotaru and Sailor Saturn. So she kind of gets a pass for that. She's okay. Pharaoh 90... bottom of the barrel on that guy. Like, he is the absolute worst we've had, because Queen Metalia, again, was like kind of an interesting concept, and she was the first one, so I kind of give her a pass. And and her and Queen Beryl, like, they were kind of interesting. And then when you get Death Phantom, he is a lot of the same, but I like sort of the concepts of, like, oh, he's like this planet, basically. And even his backstory, as dumb of the whole thing, is like, yes, he was exiled to this unstable planet. Like, it's a horrible backstory, but it's at least kind of still interesting. Pharaoh 90, bottom of the barrel. This dude sucks. First off, his name is stupid as hell. What the hell is Pharaoh 90? What happened to the other 89 pharaohs, Pharaoh 90? The hell? And then he's just some other dark being from the Tau star system or whatever. And I don't care. So he's boring. Mistress 9 is very slightly interesting, mainly because of Hotaru and Sailor Saturn, but that's about it. There's also the Professor. He was just sort of there until he wasn't there. He was kind of interesting because he sort of had the Dr. Stone thing, not the anime Dr. Stone. I mean, from DC, like with Cyborg, Victor Stone, that Dr. Stone. But he sort of had that thing where it's like, okay, so he recreated Hotaru with a cyborg body. However, he already knew that he wanted Mistress 9 to vessel Hotaru, because apparently, like, after the accident, and I swear to God, this is exactly how he says it. He says, "I implanted your egg in my daughter." Ew. Ew. Fuck. He implanted the egg of Mistress 9 into his daughter's cyborg body. Ew. Ew, ew, fucking ew. I don't need to know about some dude planting eggs in his daughter, man. Oh my god. And then he becomes like this ultimate life form, kind of, because he's like, oh, I'm the ultimate merger of humans and aliens, and now I will defeat you. I've been defeated, So he could be slightly interesting. Maybe if he was the main sort of guy, like if there was no like Cullonite, and maybe if it was him and the witches, maybe I could get behind him a bit more. But overall, he's just kind of there. And then again, the only one who kind of stands out is Mistress 9, if only for, her relationship to Hotaru and Sailor Saturn. Other than that, nothing. The good news this time, however, is that while the villains were still incredibly lackluster villains, they are incredibly overshadowed by the really, really good stuff that's happening. Unlike the last arc where it's like, okay, here's the villains. Okay, well, what else are we doing? Usagi is jealous of Chibi-Usa, and they start fighting, and she fights with Mamoru, and it's like, okay, what about this time? Well, here's our villains. Okay, whatever. Who cares? What else do we got? We've got Sailor Uranus, Sailor Neptune, Sailor Pluto, and Sailor Saturn. Fuck yes! I want that! Yes, thank you! So, that's the fundamental difference between this arc and the Black Moon arc. Is that the Sailor Guardians are the best part. and I have said this throughout all of these reviews, the Sailor Guardians are my favorite. I love all of them. And so the fact that Sailor Guardians were, central to the plot, imagine that, is really, really good. Let's talk other stuff. Well, there's the original 5 Sailors. Moon, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and I guess also Chibi-Moon. I guess we do have to mention that they don't do a ton either, but... Well, okay, here's the good news. They weren't kidnapped for half of the arc, but still, when you really stop and think about it, did they do a ton? Like, the non-Sailor Moon, the inner Guardians besides Sailor Moon, did they do a lot? No, but they weren't bad. They were good, there's not a ton to talk about with them still. Good stuff. Family bonding. Let's talk about that really quickly. We actually got some good family bonding moments between Usagi, Mamoru, and Chibi-Usa. And it was really nice. Like, they stay up and, build a crafts project. The mystical holy grail, but whatever. But they do, this crafts project and stuff like that, and I thought that was really, really nice. And there was just a nice moment between them all, So that was really nice. Chibi-Usa does sort of take a bit of a backseat in this one. Like, she's kind of... Well... Oh, no, I shouldn't say that, should I? No. Okay, she sort of takes a backseat for some of it. However, she is most vital with Hotaru because she is basically Hotaru's first friend. And it's because of that Hotaru is able to break free, Break free of Mistress 9 and reawaken as Sailor Saturn. So yeah, in that way, Chibi-Usa is very vital. Other than that, she doesn't do a ton, but that's fine. She doesn't need to. She has that importance with Hotaru. Sailor Moon is Jesus, by the way. Can we just mention that real quick? So they make this crafts project of the legendary Holy Grail. And it's oh my gosh, this is the Holy Grail? And all of the Sailor Guardians, even Ami is well, wait, what's the Holy Grail? I have to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in Ami that she doesn't know that, I thought she knew everything! Damn it! But that's okay, she's still best girl, and I can forgive her for not being a fan of A, Indiana Jones, and B, Monty Python. Although she studies a whole lot, so I guess she wouldn't have time to watch those movies. She probably doesn't study too much history, I guess. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah. So it's the Holy Grail, but also Neo Queen Serenity has the Holy Grail in the future. And they pretty much say, no, this isn't this is a cup used by Neo Queen Serenity that was then later named the Holy Grail. As far as I can tell, this is the Holy Grail. The J-Man's Holy Grail. Eventually, this cup is the cup that goes from Jesus to Usagi Tsukino. I swear to God this happens. And then eventually, the talismans basically combine their power into the real Holy Grail, and Sailor Moon drinks from it and becomes Super Sailor Moon. And it's so crazy. And she says, crisis power makeup, and that's how she becomes Super Sailor Moon. I wrote down, Family Jesus power! Christ up! And I know that wasn't a good Usagi impression. I don't give two shits, but that's exactly... Because it's also, they say, we need to combine our family powers of Usagi and Mamoru and Chibi-Usa. So that's why it's it's Family Jesus power. Because they combine their powers into the Holy Grail, and she drinks from it to become Super Sailor Moon. Super Sailor Moon it just sort of happens. I don't really know if she gets too much more powerful. I mean, she does get more powerful from it, but I don't know. Like, I can't remember too much of it that she used. All I remember is she used the power of Jesus in order to become Super Sailor Moon. So, yeah. As for the other stuff, there was a horse at the end. I guess that's our cliffhanger. Man, they can't do the cliffhangers anymore, man. Like, because the first cliffhanger was so crazy of, like, here's this, clone of Usagi or whatever pointing a gun at Usagi, you know? Like, it was crazy. But then it's just like, oh, Chibi-Usa's back. Yeah. And then it's like, here's a horse that just sort of talked to them for a second. Like, all right, so there's a horse. That's kind of all I can talk about for the main plot points. Let's talk real quick about the side chapters, because we have 4 of those. The first one, so we have 2 of Chibi-Usa's picture diaries, which they really kind of feel like episodes of the anime, and they're about Chibi-Usa, and that's really cool. The first one is about vampires. There's a girl who's all nice and sweet, and then she abducts boys, and she's a vampire. I also like how they, okay, so when Chibi-Usa describes what's been happening, Mako immediately says, oh, she must be a vampire. And then they describe vampires, and I'm like, I don't think they're vampires, guys. I think you're jumping the gun. But then they go, and they are vampires. And, of course, this allowed me to make a Dio joke. So, oh, that your friend is evil incarnate, and her name is Dio! Anyway, anytime I can do that, I just do. It's just so fun. But yeah, vampires, that's the thing, and then they win. We have an entire chapter, so after that we get a serious chapter about Rei and why she doesn't want to get married. It was kind of, it was interesting. It was the pacing was a little weird on that one. Like, it kept, jumping around, and I didn't know what was really happening, but I sort of got the gist of it. Basically, she doesn't want to get married because she doesn't trust... she basically kind of just says she doesn't trust men, which she also doesn't want to find a boyfriend, really, either, which is hilarious because in the anime, she is so thirsty. It is ridiculous. But yeah, so... but that whole thing with, her father and everything, and, her father's assistant that she really liked, and then, he ended up getting married and going into politics, and then it's like, oh, well, then it's like, oh, well, what the fuck? I thought you were different, but apparently not. But that whole thing was interesting, but yeah, I don't know, that happens. Chibi-Usa's picture diary number 2, there's some watches that are being sold by a sus-looking person who, this is also about men, actually, because they're trying to they're basically trying to brainwash women into destroying men. Like, they want to get rid of all men. And then Sailor Chibi-Moon shows up and is like, men, they're, I don't know, they help us make babies, and that's it. We need babies so that the population survives. That's all she offers in the ways of, what is important for what is the function of a man? Which, I mean, when you really stop and get down to it, she kind of has a point, it's like, that's the only thing we got that, it's the only thing we really got, And even then, it's a mutual thing, creating babies, It's a very mutual thing, so, yeah, that's about that. There's also a fake Sailor Moon, and then, Chibi-Usa's like, yeah, but you're not the real Sailor Moon because you're thick, and Sailor Moon ain't thick. And it's like a double slap, because on the one hand, it's a slap to whoever this woman is, who's, got thick legs and, has confidence issues with that. It's also a slap in the face to Usagi, because she's like, yeah, fucking, my mom is a twig, so you can't be her. My mom is an unhealthy twig, you can't be her. So, yeah, Chibi-Usa with that savagery. And the 4th side chapter, now I didn't finish this. I didn't finish this one, but I started to read it, was Luna and the Astronaut. And it's kind of interesting, the whole thing, I kind of like the setup of, oh, Luna never goes to Mina's house to pick up Artemis, who she calls Art, which I thought was kind of cute. But yeah, she doesn't go there because there are kids that will. Basically she might encounter the kids that will put the Band-Aid on her forehead and she'll lose her powers, which is exactly what happens. But then she falls in love with an astronaut, and then the astronaut has to go to America for something. And I swear to God, Luna sits on the wing of the plane the entire flight to the Kennedy Space Center. She sits on the wing like it's a thing to do. It's hilarious. There's something on the wing. Something, cat. Anyway, like, I hope that's in the anime somewhere, because I'm going to match up that episode of The Twilight Zone with that footage. I'm just going to do that someday. So, yeah. But I haven't finished that chapter yet. I decided that it wasn't important enough to finish before doing this video, so maybe we'll talk about the rest of that at the beginning of the next video, or the next chapter, I guess, or the next review of, you get what I mean. But that's basically Infinity. I really liked it. To sort of go quickly through some of my other notes, Usagi is Jesus. Mamoru is going to go to med school to become a doctor. I didn't see that coming. I guess he's got his magical healing powers, so that's something. I know Ami said that she wanted to become a doctor as well, which is interesting. Oh yeah, Sailor Saturn kind of gets the Riley treatment from the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. That's a very obscure reference if anyone gets that. But Sailor Saturn is basically reborn again as a baby, and she's reborn as a baby, and then the other Outer Guardians are like, oh, well, let's raise Hotaru as her mothers. And, you know, and it's interesting because it's like, okay, you know, Haruka and Michiru, it's like, oh, okay, so they're like her parents now. And it's like, oh, you know, sometimes, you know, you hear about that, like a lesbian couple who are parents, and it's like, oh, yeah, the people got 2 mommies. Hotaru has 3 because Sailor Pluto's there too. Like, she's not, like, I mean, I doubt Sailor Pluto's in on that relationship, but Hotaru now has 3 moms, so I'm pretty sure that's just a big flex right there. It will be one day. Also, there's a total solar eclipse, and Mamoru just sort of tries to look at it with his bare eyes like he's fucking Trump or something, like, dumbass. I think I wrote down Tuxedo Mask one time in this entire arc. He also only did 1 attack, but he was still useful. I liked him this time. I still liked him this time around. Oh yeah, they do a double heart attack, I think. Double spiral heart attack with Super Sailor Moon and Super Sailor Chibi Moon. And I just wrote down, it's like, oh, it's like Deku and All Might with a double Detroit smash. So, I thought that was cool. Oh yeah, when Tuxedo Mask did suit up, I specifically wrote down Tuxedo Muda Power suit up, otherwise known as useless. I kid. He's gotten so much better, you know? Oh, I have to say, and this is gonna make me sound horrible, but for a while, I feel like there's 4 characters that look like Rei. Like, between Sailor Pluto and Hotaru, and there are like a couple where I'm like, they just look like they're like copies of Rei, just a little different. But Hotaru does have the cut hair. So at one point I was like, oh, she does sort of look more like Ami than Rei. And I will admit that I finally realized this in this like 2 or 3 chapter like stretch where Hotaru's just naked the whole time. It's kind of weird, but that was around the time I realized she looked like Ami, so I'm sorry. Oh yeah, there was a whole temptation thing, which was kind of interesting. Like, the Deathbusters tempted the Sailor Guardians with like the lives they really want, and it's like, oh, you actually want this life, not this whole Sailor Guardian thing. And it was kind of interesting. But on one of them, it's like, oh, Sailor Mercury, your flesh thirsts for more knowledge. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I did make the joke, oh, my flesh thirsts for Sailor Mercury. So I did write that down just because it's funny to keep saying shit like that. But yeah, it was kind of weird, whereas like your flesh thirsts for knowledge. Like, whoa, easy there. She's like, chill out there, man. What else? Not to mention a duck Uranus. Sorry, there was... Every time someone says not to mention, I always say not to mention a duck, so I always capitalize that. Not to mention a duck Uranus. Saturn is the taboo planet. That was... I did kind of think that was interesting. Saturn is a very, like, cool planet, I think. Like, I love the name Saturn. I love how it looks. I love the rings and stuff. So when it's like, oh, Sailor Saturn, she's not good. She's evil and stuff. It's like, oh, I don't want her to be, like, evil. Although I was like, she is more interesting than the last 3 villains we've had. But I was like, oh, I don't want her to be evil. I love Saturn, you know? But then it's like, oh, she's not evil. She's misunderstood, you know? Let's see. Family Jesus power. No one can deflect the Emerald Splash. There's probably not even, like, reference panels for what I'm talking about now. Usagi learned how to use a computer. Somehow. I don't know when that was. Oh yeah, I wrote down, Queen Metalia is better than Death Phantom, who's better than Pharaoh 90. They're all the same. Oh yeah, Pluto is back, bitches. Mamo-chan, I'm respecting your privacy in your own house, but as your daughter, I'm coming in anyway. I guess that's kind of it. So yeah. Infinity. I really liked it. I really liked the Infinity arc. Mainly because of Haruka, Michiru, Setsuna, and Hotaru. I thought the 4 of them were spectacular, and yeah, they were just super, super amazing, and they made up for the absolute garbage villains that we had. So yeah, I like that. I love the conflict with Usagi and Chibi-Usa and all the other Guardians and stuff. I thought it was all really, really good, and I really enjoyed it, you guys, and I guess that's just kind of it. There's not much else to talk about, so tune in next week, where we will be reacting to Sailor Moon S, the movie, which I believe takes place in a similar way to Sailor Moon R, the movie. This will be sometime around, I guess, sort of towards the end of the Infinity arc. So yeah, we will react to that and have a good time. And tune in next time, 2 weeks from now, where we will be going over the Dream arc, which is chapters 39 to 49. So yeah, this will be very interesting. Once again, really enjoyed this arc. Love the new characters. I thought they were really good, even though some of them, like Michiru, I didn't really have too much to say, but I really enjoyed her and Haruka, and the return of Sailor Pluto, and the absolute goddess of Sailor Saturn. So the absolute literal goddess that she is. So yeah, this was really great, and I don't know, that's kind of all I can say. I want to say more because I love this one so much, but that's just kind of it, guys. That's just kind of it. So what did you guys think about this arc? Let me know in the comments, and we will see you guys next time for Sailor Moon S, the movie. So with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Sailor Moon videos, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit the notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.